Many years ago, when I was principal of a school, I had a class who mixed racial class and mixed race school in South Africa in Pretoria, and I had a class who began to experience some racial tensions. Let's put it simply like that. And those racial tensions were spilling out during class time, with people calling each other racist. And these are grade 7 learners, so about 12 years old. They don't really understand what was going on. So what I did is I took the most senior black staff member and myself, and we sat the class down and have a good conversation about racism and what their experiences have been and how to resolve those and how to avoid turning it into some kind of polarizing influence, because the tensions in the class were just rising too high and the staff were beginning to feel it as well. So that seemed to succeed. But then thinking holistically, I thought, well, how else can we address this? So I decided to take them for a science lesson on color. And so we used prisms. Here is a prism. This is a Perspex prism. I used glass prisms when I did the experiment with them. And if you look through it, so I'll hold the prism here, you'll see my finger. I wiggle my finger. You can see where it is actually, but you can see what the prism does. It kind of, the light from my finger goes down, hits the prism, and then bounces back up to the camera. So it bends the light. And in the process of bending light, so we get color that emerges. And we get color that emerges between light and dark, between black and white, hence the name of this video. And so using the science, I try to, in a very objective way, try to demonstrate some of the aspects or some of the elements of how color arises and an understanding of it. And because also the tensions were in the class, I got the class to, I wrote a poem, which I'll read for you, got the class to learn the poem. They made posters of some of the slides and things that you'll see now, and they demonstrated them to an assembly. So the class, the whole school was aware of the tensions in this class. So I got the class together, they performed the poem, and got raving reviews from the school, and literally in the class, the tensions disappeared, the relationships were repaired. And I kept a watchful eye, of course, for the next half a year or so, and they just didn't reoccur. It seems like whatever it was that we did between the conversation with the class that myself and the other senior black staff member had, and the science, literally dissipated it. So that's some of the powers of using a holistic approach. So I'm going to share the slides with you now so you can see what it is that emerges. So more than black and white, talking about holistic rainbows. And the attempt is to show the relationship between the light and dark and how color arises. And this is just a picture of what happened with the class. So the first thing that we know as scientists, we take white light and we shine it through a prism and it bends it open. So there are other ways to do it. And one way is to take little strips of white paper and to put them on a black background. And you'll see I've got a little taper there, and you'll see why. Because when you look at it through a prism, you can see you get half rainbows. So you look at the top of the page and you see like a blue, turquoise to violet, and the lighter blue where the white is and the darker violet where the black is. And you look at the bottom of the page, it's not so clear, but you see there the yellows to reds. And you'll see that on the top and the bottom of each of those strips of paper. But have a look where the white is tapering, and you'll see a faint touch of green there. And the next slide should show that a bit more clearly. So you can see how the rainbow arises. It rises from two edge phenomena between light and dark, between black and white. And on the one side, you've got the reds, and Goethe, who you'll know from previous videos, is very involved in Taoism. Goethe talks about the reds arising as the suffering of light, as the light is trying to permeate the darkness. And blues arise from the deeds of light, he calls them. And this is as the light kind of moves into the darkness to brighten it. So we've got the suffering, which is these reds and yellows, the warm colors, and the cooler colors, the deeds of light, as he calls them. And then as they overlap, there you get the green arising from the yellow and the turquoise. But you can do it the other way around as well. So what I did with the class is I took also a white piece of paper and little black strips and put those on it. And then when you look at it through the prism, you'll see you still get the two half spectra. But if you have a look where the tapering is, there you'll see a kind of a light pinkish. A magenta is actually the name. The magenta arises. And if you look at the bottom piece, you can see there the magenta. That's sometimes called the inverted or the inverse rainbow. And if you take the two together, then you get what the artists call the color wheel. So there you see the boundary phenomena, top and bottom. And there you can see the bottom strip with the magenta. And I think the next slide shows that even more clearly. There you go. And that's a very clear, bright magenta there in the middle. So we have these two phenomena, the two edge phenomena between light and dark arising, giving rise to color. And then as we move closer together, in other words, as we kind of bridge between the two, so we get this newness that arises with either the magenta or the green. So that's quite a powerful experience for the students who had, and we did a number of other experiments as well. And then I taught them this poem, as I said, which they learned and then presented. So, oh wait, there's the last picture with magenta, yes, because I wanted to really show you how light and clean that is, even though there's a dark, a black band in the inside. As the light encroaches, that's the only way you can get that magenta color. In the same way as with the green, it's only as the dark encroaches onto the light. So here's the poem. More than black and white. Between light and dark, so some say, lie the uninspiring shades of grey. But those with science as their friend will show the truth when light we bend. The triangular prism made of glass will show the grey scale as a farce. Dark into light is our first test. Red to yellow burst forth at rest. Then turn around from light to dark, and turquoise to violet now leave their mark. In nature, together these two are placed, when the rainbow full does radiate. Yes, my friends, do not despair what monochromatic minds declare. They only see polar extreme and overlook that in between we find a life that's rich and full, with rainbow friends all colorful. Thank you.